It is 6 p.m. We will call to order, what month is this? August.
August.
The August and type A EDC meeting. We do have a quorum present. I assume there's no one signed up to speak in our public forum.
No, ma'am.
All right, item C, discuss, consider possible action on the July 8, 2024 meeting minutes.
Approve minutes. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor? Motion is unanimous. Item number 2, review, discuss questions related to the budget report and financial statements of July 2024.
Okay. Not a whole lot to report on here other than our fund balance is now.
I hate to miss it. Haven't been there. Do you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hold down.
Oh, did you know you did that? Yes.
Do that.
Just making sure you guys are awake.
Yeah, I'm running for president.
Okay. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Again, there's not a whole lot to update on the July financials. Our fund balance right now is 2,129,633. So we're sitting very comfortably there. Our sales tax year to date is up 2%. And the only difference you're not gonna see it impact for July because I just made the final 380 agreement payment with Taco Bell. The check just went out on the 8th. That was $45,000 for impact fees to JSUD. So Taco Bell is done as far as the 380 agreement that we had agreed upon. So that's good, but you will see that in next month's financials impacting that. Everything else, I really haven't, other than maybe some travel here and there. There hasn't been any other expenditures coming out of the July financials.
Okay, any questions on the July financials? All right, item number 3, discuss, consider possible action on approval of the Economic Development Type A 2024-2025 budget.
So I'm happy to report that we do have a balanced budget that I am presenting for your approval for today at this meeting. And if you all approve it, it'll go to council on Thursday for them to approve and then to include in the entire with the city's budget for it to be effective October 1st. Really weren't any changes on here. You will see on underneath expand business on the third section, the 380 agreement that was including Taco Bell and Whataburger. And as I told you, some of that is already going to be coming out on all of Taco Bell's came out of this year's budget. And so all of Whataburger's will come out of the 24-25 budget with that. And that is a preliminary to where I think we have it allotted for 60,000 on that because we really don't know where we're going to fall with the impact fees next year when that comes around. So, and I'll give you an update on them during the update section. And then the other thing that we were asking is there's no COLA on there for me or anything either. But the one thing that we are asking is to up my car allowance because what we're doing now is barely paying for the gas and not to mention the toll that for all of the meetings that I have. So they will increase that 3,000 a year for my car allowance.
So for the rest of the board here, the council had a preliminary discussion around the overall budget for the city. And there are some significant cuts that we are having to make. There is not going to be any COLA for any city staff this year. And we are looking to make significant cuts in the budget. So this board is a little bit unique because of how it is funded, and we have the luxury of it coming from sales tax. So if there are opportunities where we can help fund, because you know, what Molly is specifically doing directly impacts this board, so this board helping with that burden is going to make sure that she's able to continue to do what she needs to do, but it's also not going to be trying to pull from somewhere else in the budget that could impact other departments. Were there any cuts that we made within for type A?
No, there were not. There were not. We were still staying very frugal with the sales tax number coming in. I think we have it allotted at 763. Well, 693 just for sales tax coming in. And then with this miscellaneous or the interest income, we have our budget at 743, which I think is, I would rather plan low because with Taco Bell opening, and all of that, and then some of these other entities coming in, we are gonna see an increase, but I like to stay kind of here. That way we know our budget is fully funded for what we're proposing, and if we have more coming in, fantastic by the end of the year. So that's what we have allotted for the sales tax coming in is the 693, and then with that additional, the 50,000 of interest income that comes in. But we have not, that was the only increase that we will do toward the admin side is the car allowance. And then we actually have money left over. And then we'll discuss more about what we're gonna do for incentives in executive session. But as far as that is, we also have, like I said, Whataburger covered under this budget. But we have our fund balance too that hasn't been touched in the last really 3 years. So
Did I see something come across that the chamber has decided to move away from having a president?
yes, that is correct.
Okay, so whenever we made the decision to make a partial fund to the chamber, do you recall what the parameters were around that?
It was, well, the 18,000 a year. And then I would like to keep that in the budget for any future changes that are to be made. But that money will just sit there for now.
So that was earmarked for.
It was no, I'm sorry. It was not earmarked for the president, because remember, we were very clear that we wanted it to be like for events or anything like that. So I guess as long as the chamber stays in existence, we will still pay that quarterly. So forgive me.
Will we still get updates and feedback from the
Yes.
chamber?
Yes, we can have their board come in and do the updates, and continue to do that.
Why did they get rid of the position?
I think it had to do with financial. They just weren't, they could not sustain financially.
Don't sound good for them.
Hmm?
Don't sound good for them.
So,
They should be growing.
so, so it's just one of those things. It just hasn't sustained itself financially. So that's what I've been told.
And we're just trying to, I mean, in the conversation that we had the other night, I mean, I really took what Mike Kidd said to heart. We genuinely want to not increase the burden on our taxpayers, but at the same time, if you continue to just strip away and strip away and strip away, we're taking away from what we're doing to build up the community. So trying to find that right balance. And that's why I think it's important to understand what your role does and what this board is financially responsible for is revenue generation. So if we take away from what's happening here, are we having a negative impact? But we also just want to be very mindful that we're doing our part and being strategic in how we're spending our dollars and where we're budgeting and not just, being willy-nilly about it. Other questions, comments?
So it's all gonna be flushed out at the, council meeting this week then, so we'll see the actual budget, the dollars and everything?
Yes, there was a preliminary budget presented to us last week, to give us an opportunity to review it. There was also some questions around the healthcare, I think, for the staff, and they kind of needed some direction on that in advance to figure out what their options were. There was an increase in their healthcare costs. So there's a preliminary budget that was posted with that agenda if you wanted to look at it in advance. But ultimately what happens is each of the boards reviews and approves their part of the budget, and then it all goes to council to approve as a whole.
And that for us, our board, have we been asked to cut? Or are we just at a point of being cautious?
So I know that there was a request from the city manager to all department heads to look for opportunities to, but, you know, we don't have a huge overhead.
Yeah, like our A board and B board doesn't affect the city's budget at all. We are our own entity, so to speak. We are funded by sales tax, our own separate sales tax. But to me, I think to stay fair, I wouldn't feel comfortable receiving a pay raise when the rest of the staff didn't. So that was kind of a decision that we made, but our budget doesn't affect the city's budget at all.
It's part of it, but it's not.
So if we do make decisions on the amount of dollars that we have as a board, can we send that out as a survey so that we're able to have input on if something's going to be held or something's going to be cut? At least be able to have some input on what that might be?
So from a city standpoint, where, you know, Alice is working on different surveys and stuff from a city standpoint, but from our board, it's really around Molly looking at opportunities and bringing those to us to kind of consider if it's a good investment or.
I see that. I'm just expecting in 6 months' time, if this is as drastic as you're saying, that there may be something we're gonna have to give up. I'm just asking for a heads up or input on what that might be.
I don't see us having to give up anything. Like I said, our sales tax is coming in still pretty strong. And that's, I mean, nothing is ever definite, right, and permanent, even property taxes. I mean, who knows what'll happen, but I think no matter what the economy looks like right now, I have not seen a slowdown on franchises and that type of commercial coming in. I'm not, because most of them are, they're cash funded, usually these entities. And that's the part of the economy that is still staying strong. People are still eating, they still have to eat, they still go out to eat, they still budget that kind of stuff. And I think the franchises are also being very cognizant and having these meal deals, and they're trying to mitigate that economic issue. And I have not seen a slowdown in the companies that I've been reaching out to.
And I think the other important thing as far as the significant adjustment the city is having to make in the budget was not because suddenly our tax income wasn't what it was expected. There was a change in how the comptroller
How the tax rate is
was calculated. So we were expecting all cities were expecting one thing, and they decided to do something different, and it adjusted. So it wasn't that we were that the money suddenly just like, it was an adjustment made and a calculation by the comptroller, and it reduced what we are bringing in. So we had to make adjustments.
Is that on the agenda items for the city council meeting? Is there a way to see that, I guess is what I'm
They
asking?
talked about it in the,
It should be in a packet. If not, I'll double check for this past week. I know some items was handed out. I'll look tomorrow morning. If it's not, I'll still have my handouts. I'll go ahead and upload it in there. And I know they're still working on the budget to go in this packet. But as soon as it's sent to me, I'll get it uploaded immediately. So just keep letting it be uploaded before Thursday's meeting.
in that meeting last week, if you go and watch it, they did it, kind of explain it to us on what happened, if you want to go ahead and look at that information, because I didn't understand. My question was like, where did, the money was there, where did it go? It didn't just,
So,
you know. and
Part of our problem also is this inflation. Everything we purchased last year cost more this year.
Correct.
And we got the same money. So that's our problem. And then the building has slowed down tremendously around here. And a lot of the permitting and a lot of the fees that we gathered, we're not getting right now. So a lot of our income is down.
That is the residential. The residential is the ones that's getting the hit the most, just because the cost to build it's just not financially feasible. So they're struggling with like a lot of the phase 2s and phase 3s are not moving forward at this point. So,
My next question was, how many miles a year are you driving?
it varies, cause it goes anywhere from when I meet clients in Fort Worth, I haven't purposely tracked it. So, I mean, I can't answer that off the top of my head, I'm sorry. But I am like I'm out a couple times a week. I am constantly driving. That's why I bought my car and I don't drive my truck.
Wait.
Yeah.
I was gonna suggest that maybe we look at reimbursing you mileage rather than just a
So-
stipend for fuel.
It's funny you bring that up because I wasn't doing that on my conferences. I mean, I drive to Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Hutto, all of those for some of these conferences, and I didn't realize I could get that reimbursement, and I just turned one in for when I went, and I can't remember this past one, because Mike kind of scolded me for that, and he was like, "Why are you not?" And I'm like, "Well, I get," and yeah, my car allowance is not covering that at all.
Because at the end of the day, while we're trying to be mindful of our spending, we don't want to take advantage of I mean,
Well, I appreciate that.
you are operating as an
I appreciate
employee,
that.
and we want to make sure that you're not.
I appreciate that. I do. And so I did, and I'll start doing that for these long trips, for that, because, in it's October, November is when I'm really traveling a lot. Like October, I'm gone 3 weeks out of that with, the TEDC conferences, TCMA, all that kind of stuff. That is, all that networking with the engineers and the architects that are working in the commercial, that to me, that is my cohort, because those are the ones that are working with the restaurants, and that's my in to get to know those people, to get Joshua out in front of them so they can go to their entity and go, "Hey, you need to look at Joshua." Those are more viable networking contacts to me than meeting up with other EDC people. Cause like, what am I gonna get? I mean, it's great that I have those to, hey, get some advice. Hey, I got this, come on, what do you do? But at the end of the day, they're not sharing their, a lot of them aren't sharing, their franchise contacts with me. So I get a lot of my commercial real estate, agents and engineers and architects is honestly my most profitable, networking contacts.
Yeah, I would like to see us do something with mileage reimbursement for you, to the point that you're willing to record and report.
That's great. Yeah, you'll see, it'll be on probably August, because I did one for the last couple of conferences. I did a mileage for that, so. What do you think, sir?
Government allows 63.5 cents a mile.
That's the city's
Federal.
policies that follow.
Right.
For 60s, just over 67,
Yeah.
$1.8.
And that covers like your wear and tear on your car, and it's just the mileage, and then we do it from City Hall. So no matter where you live, you do it from City Hall.
And there was consideration by the council as well, that, because we do have some fleet vehicles, to see if it was something that made sense, and it was investigated, and it netted out that this was still the better option for us. So we
Oh.
did look into that too.
And it is easier because it's my car, it's my vehicle, my stuff's in it. You know what I mean? It's easier when it's my car. So I think it's actually cheaper for you to do
Yeah.
the car allowance and the mileage than the fleet vehicle. And there's also, it's a little bit different with,
My point was just to pay the mileage.
and it's a little bit different with economic development. You really don't want me driving around with the city of Joshua on it. I mean, at my previous city, we had ghost lettering because entities, they don't want people to know that we're meeting.
Right.
And so that was a big issue at the other city. But in order to get the fleet vehicle to be tax exempt, you had to have some kind of lettering. And so we did the best we could with the ghost writing, but you still said it. It still
Yeah.
said the city on there. And I know
Get
a
a
lot of,
magnet you can
Yes.
yank off the door.
and a lot of members and a lot of people that I met with, they're like, you need to come in another vehicle because we don't want anybody. Some of these things are so competitive. They just don't want them to know that they're speaking with the city. Yeah. So it's just easier being my own vehicle. So if you approve the increase, of the mileage. You'll just state it, in the motion.
Any other questions? All right, we are open for a motion. We have a motion
the
and a
budget.
second to approve
Yeah.
the type A budget, including the increase to, the car allowance for the EDC director. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 4, July 24 monthly update.
Let me get my notes here. I don't know if you noticed when you drove by the Taco Bell property, they have a finally on site today.
No, but I read all about the tree.
You
I read
Yeah, I
all
haven't
about the tree drama.
haven't heard that, and I know, but I mean, unfortunately, it is what it is.
I know.
Sorry, everybody out there. But we're getting tacos for it. So that's good. I'm usually in a weekly conversation with them. And I actually talked to him today, before I heard about the tree, and he said, yeah, we're gonna be out there today. They have been really just biting at the bit to get out there and so, again, I know I mentioned this before, but don't be surprised if that building goes up pretty darn fast. And we're pretty excited for that.
Where's it gonna be?
Right there next to, 7-Eleven.
Oh,
Remember that
okay.
old,
Yeah.
that old, yellow building
Yeah.
or house?
All right, yeah.
So it's next to, I don't think it's right next to Taco Bell. It's
No,
That's
there's
next to
a Mexican
Chipotle.
La
restaurant.
Gringa. It's like
Yeah.
Taco, it's 7-Eleven, La Gringa, and then Taco Bell. The other thing is, I don't have any new updates with Whataburger, but they've submitted plans. It's in the engineering stages, and as I've mentioned to you before, usually the engineering stages, the civil engineering is the longest stage, because they're working out drainage and they're working out all that kind of stuff. So, before I am happy to report, we finally have some movement, and we finally have the 380 agreement signed on their end, which that just happened a week and a half ago.
Where is that?
It will be right next to Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that is, and then I'm having an update on American Steel. Remember eons ago, they have been working on the 12 acres across the street from them for an expansion. They did close on that property. Aaron and I'm sure you guys all know Aaron. He's our development services. He's over permitting and zoning and all of that. He and I are meeting with the 2 gentlemen from American Steel tomorrow morning, just to go over what their plan is, for their expansion. They're wanting to put in some kind of just shade shelters right now, that won't require civil engineering or anything, they have ran out of room eons ago. You know, they built that 25,000 square foot expansion building on their property. They've been waiting to close on this property. But until they're looking at putting like 100,000 square foot storage building on this new property, in addition to some other, buildings. And they're also, which they asked me not to announce it yet, they will be producing another type of product that will enhance their business, which will bring in even more sales tax for us, which is fantastic. And, but they're not ready to announce that yet until, they get closer to, instead of buying it, they'll be producing it themselves. And so we're meeting with them tomorrow morning. And that's all I have for that update. The other stuff I will discuss with you in executive session.
Any questions for Molly? If nothing else, then we will move into item C. This is executive session pursuant to section 551.087 Texas Government Code to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information received from or the offer of a financial or other incentive made to a business prospect seeking to locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the city and with which the city is conducting economic development negotiations. 6:25. It is 6:56. We will reconvene into regular session. There's no action item out of executive session. Item F, any future agenda items for next month? All right, if nothing else, then at 6:57, we will adjourn.
Thank you, everyone.